Hello, good afternoon and welcome to JoyNews Today. My name is Faustina Safo. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, calls heightened for a special probe into the conduct of the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame and the trial of Minority Leader Dr. Kesalato Forson and others as it emerges claims that the AG knew nothing about meeting businessman Richard Jakpa is not entirely accurate. We're live in court as the case will be heard today. Well, also in this bulletin, no more free fuel for government officials. We'll hear from flag bearer of the opposition NDC, John Dramani Mahama, who promises to discontinue payment of the fuel and other incentives to top government officials if elected into office.
We'll discontinue the payment of utility bills, fuel, DSTV, etc. as conditions of service for top government officials, directors, and the political class.
And later in our Filth exhibition, we'll take you to Sodom and Gomorrah, where residents question the efficacy of the dredging of the Koli Lagoon as they lament the waste problem plaguing the area persists.
The
lagoon is being dredged, but I think it's waste of time and resources.
I am Faustina Safo. The news is live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. Please join us. We're JoyNews on TV on all our social media handles. Take a seat. Be my guest. Thanks for choosing us. Now, we start from the court because there are calls by a lot of individuals for the sitting Supreme Court judge to be impeached in the trial of Dr. Kesalato Forson. Well, if his role in the raging witness tampering case is established, it comes after one of the accused persons in the trial alleged in open court an attempt by the Attorney General to get him to incriminate the minority leader. Well, this meeting is said to have been held at the residence of this yet-to-be-released name of the Supreme Court Justice. We'll bring you more on that shortly, but first, my colleague Kwekwa Santi of our Legal Affairs Desk has been tracking all the major developments since the scandal broke on Thursday. He filed this report.
The bombshell was dropped in court on Thursday whilst the third accused person, Richard Jakpa, was under cross-examination. The NDC made a big deal out of this right after court.
We as a political party are totally scandalized and disgusted. We've always known that this is a stock in trade of Godfred Yeboah-Dame.
Later in the day, the Attorney General's department swiftly denied any wrongdoing.
Is it lawful for prosecution to engage an accused person? Yes, it's lawful. Who has, especially one who has put in a plea request.
There are now calls for the allegation to be thoroughly investigated. Listen to private legal practitioners Justice Sai and Samson Ladianyanini.
We should be looking at a commission of inquiry or at least a parliamentary inquiry into this.
They are serious enough, warranting the attention of the right institutions for what has to be done.
The pressure is mounting on Godfred Dame to resign or be fired by President Akufo-Addo. Kweku Asasare is a former director of the Ghana School of Law.
For my respectable Dame to engage himself in this scandalous manner, I mean, if he has a conscience, no one should advise him. He has to advise himself to resign or the president must fire him.
Later today, the NDC is expected to put its evidence regarding this scandal out, while the NPP has also scheduled a news conference to respond.
Kwekwa Santi found that report. Now, we can now hear from a former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Asasare, who says the unnamed Supreme Court judge at the center of this case must be removed from office if he instigated this meeting at all.
If it is true that the meeting took place at the house of the sitting Supreme Court judge,
right.
It must be indeed the Chief Justice, should set the ball rolling. The President has the right to the Chief Justice, but let us wait until we know who this Supreme Court judge. Maybe it's not like just like you call me a professor. I'm not a professor, so maybe a magistrate who is being referred to as sitting justice of the Supreme Court. When we get to that, like we know how to process, we haven't read the bridge yet.
While there are heightened calls for a special probe into the conduct of the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame in the trial of the minority leader Dr. Kesilato Forson and others, well, it has emerged that this claims that the AG knew nothing about the meeting between businessman Richard Jakpa and the judge presiding over the case is not entirely accurate. Here's private legal practitioner Samson Ladiaini with details.
What I am informed suggests that what the AG's spokesperson told MFA is a big lie. Okay. That the claim of the involvement of a judge directly and the AG being unaware, that's what I am reliably informed, and have been pointed to something which shows that that claim potentially in the course of events will fall flat as a lie.
I will take you to court shortly and speak to my colleague Wikwa Asante because the case is being heard today, and so we'll give you development on the show. Do stay with us. Well, former President John Dramani Mahama says his next government will cancel payment of electricity, fuel and other incentives to top government officials to save the country money if elected into power. The NDC flag bearer indicated that only when a government vehicle is used on government business will fuel be provided for the state by the state. Listen.
And we'll stop the endless tax audits and harassments by EOCO. We know that a lot of businesses, almost every year, there are some businesses that have a tax audit twice a year, and there are some who have been referred to EOCO because GRA suddenly wakes up and says, for the last 5 years, you were paying less than you should pay, and so you've evaded tax, and so EOCO should investigate you. We're not going to do that. We're going to set up a customer-friendly tax regime so that people feel happy to go to the GRA to pay their taxes. We will introduce measures that will stop our government and any future governments from wasting state funds, such as reducing the number of ministers and appointees, merging ministerial portfolios, will review and eliminate ex gratia payments in their current form. We'll also merge state agencies. There are several state agencies that are duplicating each other. And so where the functions are the same, we will bring them together and merge them. We'll discontinue the payment of utility bills, fuel, DSTV, etc. as conditions of service for top government officials, directors, and the political class. We believe that people should take up paying their own electricity bills and water like every other Ghanaian does. And unless you're using a government vehicle on government assignment, you should buy your own fuel if you're using your own car. And so we're going to discontinue that. Our budget will be to support small businesses and use tax as incentives for job creation.
Let's shift our attention to security-related issues now as part of efforts to effectively tackle the growing threat posed by the activities of terrorists and pirates, especially along the Gulf of Guinea. Ghana's Western Naval Command in Second Day has hosted the 2024 Ogbangbemi Express Maritime Interdiction Training for 13 countries. For 5 days, 13 nations from across West Africa, Europe and North Africa sent military delegations to collaborate, learn and train together as part of the U.S. Naval Force Europe-Africa 2024 Ogbangbemi Military Interdiction Training. There's more in this report.
Together, the Italian Special Operations Forces were training the Libyan and Tunisian forces, as well as the Ghana Special Boat Service. And then for Obangame Express, we had U.S. Coast Guard and Royal Netherlands Marine Corps personnel training Ghana Navy personnel in boat landings. So in reality, it was a real meshing, but this started last week. I mean, Obangame Express on our side, we've had 13 nations come together out here in Sekondi. And we had over 100 participants training with the U.S. Coast Guard and the Royal Netherlands Marine Corps, learning the maritime interdiction procedures that you saw today. So, the next exercise, hopefully next year, back here in Ghana as well as throughout the Gulf of Guinea. We're excited to continue working with our partners and allies, continuing to increase the interoperability between our forces to improve counter-piracy, as well as maritime interdiction procedures between our forces. We can only get better by working together, and that's what Obangame is all about. I can't speak on behalf of Ghana specifically, because I'm only for the United States side of things. But what I can say is that Obangame Express and Flintlock are doors. They're opportunities for the Gulf of Guinea nations, West Africa, our partners here, our allies in Europe, and everywhere else here in North America, as well as other forces around the world, working together to improve.
Well, Major Adam Danako, lead planner of the exercise Flintlock, also said that the partnership had become necessary following the intensive activities of terrorists and pirates along the Gulf of Guinea.
Obangame Express are two U.S.-enabled exercises that focus on bringing interoperability across African partners and international partners. Currently within Flintlock, we have over 30 countries that are participating, and this specific training event was an opportunity for U.S. Naval Forces Africa, Special Operations Command Africa, to bring together numerous special operations and general purpose forces to conduct what is actually a very complex target. In this specific training exercise, there were 6. There were 3 African partners and 3 international partners in the United States. The specific exercise that you witnessed today was a combined joint operation that brought in special operations from maritime units along with general purpose maritime units as well. And what it was focused on is both counter-piracy and violent extremist organizations. Today's exercise was what we call a half-bath. It was a half-bath VBSS. So it was a visit board search and seizure. The target ship was essentially a hijacked or in distress ship.
Well, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Jinapor, is emphasizing the need to boost the capacity of the Minerals Commission to effectively oversee and regulate small-scale mining activities across the country. There's more in this report.
The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Jinapor, visited the site of a 7-story building office complex, laboratory and museum for the Minerals Commission in Kumasi. The visit was to inspect the pace of work. The building is said to be 71% complete, awaiting official handover and commissioning by October. According to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Jinapor, small-scale mining remains a double-edged sword that comes with significant environmental challenges if not managed responsibly. He noted that equipping the Minerals Commission with adequate resources would enable it to play its role efficiently.
The bulk of mining takes place in the middle belt of our country. We're talking about Ashanti, we're talking about Western North, we're talking about Hafo, we're talking about Western region, we're talking about Central region. And therefore, if we are going to have to come to grips with the mining industry of our country, large-scale mining, where we will have a promotion of large-scale mining in our country, which will contribute to the national economy of our country, and also particularly if we're going to have to be able to regulate small-scale mining in our country, it will mean that the Minerals Commission should have the requisite infrastructure, they should have the requisite personnel, they should have the requisite operational capacity to regulate the mining sector of our country.
He says the government is committed to decentralizing the Minerals Commission to regulate the operations of small-scale miners.
You know, the problem we've had, which is why we've had this breakdown in regulation in the mining sector of our country, particularly small-scale mining sector of our country, because we've not been able to regulate the sector in the manner that we should. You have the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission sitting in Accra. The mining is taking place in Obuasi and the rest, and you do not have enough personnel to inspect, to ensure that licenses, when they are applied for, are processed on time, and so on and so on. This is what has brought us where we are today, and it's been years of neglect, of not putting in place these kinds of infrastructure and putting in place, enhancing the operational capacity of the Minerals Commission, because the Minerals Commission, that is a regulator of the mining sector of our country. And so what we are doing, we are building this, we are building one in Tamale, we are building one in Bole, we've built one, I'm commissioning one very soon in
next week,
next week in Akimoda and Bibiani. And so we took a deliberate decision that if we are going to be able to bring sanity in the mining sector of our country, particularly the small-scale mining sector of our country, it will mean that the regulator must be where the mining takes place. They have to build their offices there, they have to have personnel there, they have to have the operational capacity and the regulatory capacity to regulate the mining sector of our. So this is major, this is significant.
Matthew Kweku AEC is the Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Commission.
Asanko and Obuasi, those will be run from here. Let me repeat: Newmont, Ahafo North and South, Asanko and Obuasi. Yes, and then you have one in Tamale and Boga that will take care of the northern sector. So we are on course and we'll have more personnel so that we'll become more efficient.
For Joy News, Nana Boachi Dankwa Yadom, Kumasi.
Well, some pupils at Katamanso cluster of schools in the Katamanso municipality continue to reel from the impact of a rainstorm that ripped off some classroom roofs about a fortnight ago. Authorities at the affected schools had no option but to merge some classes, pushing the student population to over 100 in a single class with no clear timeline as to when normalcy will return. This came to light when the former MP for the area, Nilaya Fote, paid medical bills of 4 pupils injured during the rainstorm. There's more in this report from our Tema correspondent Kwame Yanka.
The rainstorm over a fortnight ago threatened both human lives and destroyed property. From ripped-off classrooms to smashed cars, the negative impact of the rainstorm is quite telling. This has compelled authorities to merge some junior high classes to accommodate the students as a temporary measure with the hope of having all affected structures at Katamanso cluster of schools fixed. Regent of Katamanso and former MP for Katamanso constituency, Nilai Afutagbo, after paying the medical bills of pupils injured during the rainstorm, appealed to authorities to double their steps.
Because the teachers have complained of they not being able to put the children in the classroom to teach them and some of the issues they are going through. So I'm just calling on the authorities. I know the MC is there. The MC have gone beyond his level. I know there is some contribution that he can give. I'm calling on my colleagues who are today ministers, the Minister for Education. We've been together to at least focus on or attend to our plea, because we'll all be at rest and we'll be happy when the issues are attended to, so that what we are going through today, what the children are going through, will become a thing of the past.
After witnessing the congestion in the classrooms, Nilaya Fotagbo says there is the need to check birth rates.
I'm talking about giving birth to children. I'm talking about family planning. The speed at which they are going and the speed at which our parents are producing. Sometimes you can't run with them. And I know it will always be a problem. But somewhere along the line, we should always focus on the issues and then attend to them. That's the only thing that we can do when the challenges arise. If I've not come here to see what the situations are, I wouldn't have been able to know what it is on the ground. And I also call on the MMDCEs in the country, especially in Greater Accra, to move out of their offices to visit facilities of schools, health institutions, water projects, and very important things, so that at least Ghanaians will have some relief.
Meanwhile, Assembly member for Penkwai electoral area, Joshua Bote Afutu, is appealing for immediate solution to the situation at hand.
The Israel happy, the DCE and the authorities, they were here and they assessed the damage, and they sent the engineers to come and assess it. But as at the time they are coming, that one day, I don't know anything about it. But all what I'm telling them is that they should fast track it so that we can get our things done, so that the children will be relieved in learning. If they can do a story building for us, even where the roof has damaged, if we can put in pillars so that they can deck it and raise another structure so that they can ease the densely populated classroom.
Both Katamanso Municipal Chief Executive Samuel Okwamankwa and Education Director Harry Evans Arthur, having earlier visited the affected schools, have assured of addressing the challenges. So far, 3 out of 4 injured pupils have recovered and returned to school.
Well, the National Development Planning Commission has acknowledged its failure to get successive government to implement previous development plans. The NDPC attributes this failure to the rigidity of these documents, making it difficult for government to implement them. However, the commission says it has learned from past mistakes and has made adjustments to address the issue. According to Professor George Jan Balfour, chairman of the NDPC, rigid plans prescribing projects and actions will not survive under the current political dispensation. Therefore, the Commission has made the new plan more flexible going forward.
Leadership, Sophia Kufu, the representative of the current Chief Justice, Reverend, who prayed for us, distinguished members of the National Development Planning Commission, chief directors and heads of ministries, departments and agencies, and indeed the head of civil service, distinguished guests from the academia, distinguished guests from the civil society organizations, distinguished guests from the private sector, honorable members of parliament, if some of them are here, distinguished development partners, members of the press, and indeed, there are some people that probably I have to just mention their name. Professor Akela Pasoya. Been seeing him for ages, so nice seeing you. And then Sultan, who is here. Let me first of all welcome all of you for this occasion. I'm deeply humbled but honored to stand before you today as we embark on a momentous journey into the future to unveil a document that embodies the aspirations, the hopes, and the dreams of Ghanaians, that is the Vision 2057. This occasion marks a significant milestone in Ghana's development trajectory, and I'm privileged to share with you the foundational elements of this visionary framework. Ghana Chairman, throughout history, Ghana's development planning has evolved to meet changing needs and global demands. From the colonial era to the present day, successive governments have pursued various strategies to drive economic growth and development. The establishment of the National Development Planning Commission under the 1992 Constitution laid the foundation for a comprehensive approach to development planning, culminating in the introduction of long-term development frameworks such as the Ghana Vision 2020. The long-term National Development Plan of Ghana 2018 to 2057, Ghana at 100, and the subsequent coordinated programs of economic and social development policies of various governments. Now, with Vision 2057, we chart a bold course towards a brighter future, guided by lessons learned from past experiences and informed by global commitments such as the Sustainable Development Goals, the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, AU Agenda 2063, Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, the Sendai Framework on Disaster Risk Reduction, and indeed ECOWAS Vision 2050. The long-term National Development Perspective Framework provides a roadmap for achieving our collective aspirations, setting forth integrated socio-economic development goals.
Now, over 50 girls with special needs at Garden City Special School in the Ashanti region struggle to purchase sanitary towels and maintain menstrual hygiene during their menstruation, relying heavily on their teachers for support. Well, the challenges these girls face highlight the broader issue of menstrual hygiene management among special needs students, prompting teachers to call for urgent assistance. Love News' Anita Sewa has more in this report.
The Garden City Special School houses over 100 students with special needs. More than 50 of them are adolescent girls who are unable to take care of themselves during menstruation. They are between the ages of 12 to 40 years. Nancy Baidu, a teacher, narrates the barriers that come with taking care of girls with special needs during menstruation.
Most of the times, with their condition, they are not able to fix the pad themselves, and they can't calculate their days where the flow will come. So most of the times it's spoil themselves. They spoil themselves before they come for you to clean them, and then you fix them properly for them. And they've soiled themselves. You have to bath for them using disinfectant. We normally use that too. Okay, you bath for the person, and then you fix the pad for the person. Only few of them can do it, but most of them you have to bath for them. Washing their private part. Even sometimes you might be eating and one will just remove the pad. Madam Share Moja.
Some of the students are unable to purchase sanitary pads due to increase in prices. Nancy Baidu is calling on government and non-governmental organizations to come to their aid.
Benevolent people, individuals, governments, they can help the children with the pad and also with hand gloves.
As part of the 2024 World Menstrual Hygiene Day, the Greater Accra Metropolitan Sanitation and Water Project donated 40 boxes of sanitary pads to the Garden City Special School. Engineer George Esiedu, project coordinator at GKMA and Gamma Water Sanitation Project, says the ministry is committed to providing more gender and disability-friendly sanitation facilities.
The focus this year is that we need to let the differently able, we don't leave them out. So we came here to also re-emphasize the point that to be able to manage sanitation, to be able to manage hygiene, to be able to manage menses, you need access to water, you need access to improved toilet facility, and then you need the materials that the girl child will need.
For Joy News, Anita Sewa Ajugam reporting.
Back here in Accra, as the dredging of the Koli Lagoon continues, questions are emerging about its effectiveness in tackling the waste problem plaguing Accra. With uncertainty lingering in the air, the city awaits decisive actions to address mounting environmental challenges. In today's Filth exhibition, my colleague Adobe Asari takes you to Sodom and Gomorrah.
The Kolei Lagoon, here in Accra, has been normalized as a symbol of environmental degradation and waste mismanagement. The government's initiative to dredge the lagoon aimed at tackling the mountain waste problem faces scrutiny as locals express uncertainty about its effectiveness. Kwekwe J, a footwear vendor near the lagoon, highlights the shortfall of the dredging exercise, which aimed at addressing the root cause of the waste issue.
The lagoon is being dredged, but I think it's waste of time and resources, because after this exercise, the lagoon will accumulate filth again. The dredging exercise isn't the solution to our waste problems. There's a root cause to the filth which isn't being tackled.
The absence of bins, a crucial location, Mr. Ajay says, is forcing residents to resort to dumping waste in gutters.
You will observe that there are no bins in Accra and many other towns. The absence of bins, I believe, is the root cause of the filth which we see everywhere in town. If the government really wants to fight these waste problems, they should provide bins.
Reflecting on the deteriorating sanitation issues in Accra, contrary to the president's pledge to make it the cleanest city in Africa, Mr. Ajay placed blame squarely in leadership. He emphasized the normalization of filth in areas like Sodom and Gomorrah, where the stench has become a part of daily life.
There used to be bins at Vantage Point in Accra, and its help kept littering. Now it seems no one cares. I think they should bring back that initiative.
The sentiment expressed by Jay echoes the frustration of many residents who witness the worsening waste crisis without tangible solutions. Despite government's efforts, the underlying issue of waste management remains unresolved, leaving communities grappling with the consequences of environmental neglect. Adobe Asari's reports for JoyNews.
Watching news today, we're taking a quick breather. We'll be back with more. Do stay tuned in.
Good afternoon and welcome to the business news here on JoyNews Today with me, Pius Kojo Baka. The African Development Bank is expressing concern that the debt resolution mechanism for Ghana and other debt-distressed African countries has been slow. The Continental Bank argues that although the G20 framework on the debt resolution has been helpful in mitigating the crisis by harmonizing official creditors and other commercial lenders, the debt restructuring in the estimation of the bank has been a difficult process. Addressing the reporters at the 59th AFDB annual meetings in Nairobi, Kenya, President of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akiwumi Adesina, called for reform.
The Kenyatta International Convention Center, the venue where African central banks and governments are converging for this year's African Development Bank annual meetings. Unlike never before, stakeholders attending this year's summit hope to scale up the agenda for Africa's transformation while using institutions such as the African Development Bank as a pivot in pushing for reforms in the global financial architecture. President of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akiwumi Adesina, in his address to the media, pointed out that reforms must include a new debt resolution mechanism for countries such as Ghana, which are grappling with the sovereign debt crisis.
We lost a decade because it took forever to negotiate anything. And so we are pleased that there's a G20 common framework, which I strongly support, which the African Development Bank strongly supports, the G20 common framework. It's helping to bring creditors that are the private creditors with the official creditors together to negotiate on comparability terms. What are the terms of the debt restructuring that's going to be done? Now, I understand it's a very difficult process because you have Paris Club members, you have non-Paris Club members, and you have commercial debtors, and their needs are quite different from those of official creditors. But it's helped. It's helped with Chad. It's helped with Zambia. It's helped with Ghana. And it's working also on Ethiopia in putting together the various credit committees. That said, that process, everybody agrees, is too slow. You know, if you're going to, if you have somebody that is bleeding and you want to save their life, stop the bleeding faster. Because by the time that you actually do it, they may be dead. So what you find African countries asking for is a speedier implementation and execution of those global mechanisms to deal with the issue of debt.
This is a statutory engagement of the African Development Bank, and Kenya is hosting the 59th edition of the annual meetings of the AFDB, which is underway here in Nairobi. The Continental Financial Institution says it is dedicating this year to the theme on Africa's economic transformation while using the African Development Bank as a tool that will push for global reforms in the financial architecture.
On the issue of the special drawing rights, and I'm pleased that together with the Inter-American Development Bank and the IMF, that the board of directors of IMF approved that, which is a hybrid instrument that will allow the stretching of those SDRs to be able to lend more. I'm pleased that the board approved $20 billion as a limit for the rechallenging towards hybrid capital for use by multilateral development banks, for example. And it's just this simple. Those SDRs can be leveraged by 4 times, and that $20 billion will become $80 billion. And just tells you the resources you need faster for development.
Blaise Oga reporting for Joy News, Nairobi, Kenya.
Back home in Ghana, the chief executive of the CEO Network Ghana, organizer of the Ghana CEO Summit, Ernest de Graft Ejiri, has underscored the need for public-private sector partnership to aid economic growth. He spoke to Joy Business on the sidelines of the 8th Ghana CEO Summit here in Accra.
The one-day 8th Ghana CEO Summit focused on the theme Reigniting Business and Economic Growth, Charting a Path Forward, Economic Diversification and Artificial Intelligence Transformation. In an interview with Joy Business, Ernest de Graft Ejiri, the Chief Executive Officer of the CEO Network Ghana, emphasized that this year's theme highlights the critical need for collaboration between Ghana's private and public sectors to navigate a rapidly evolving global landscape.
It's been so many years in Ghana with this cyclical pattern of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And Ghana is not still able, through the public service, to have a potent, what do we call, public sector regulation framework. And that is a serious problem. And it is on that note that the CEO Summit continue to be proactive about themes like this. Well, why have we combined AI to it? Because we are believing that, and we have supported the government through our thought leadership platform in the digitalization drive of the Vice President and then the current administration. Because we believe that it's a good platform to help prepare Ghana to achieving, having one of the best business regulatory environment. Hence the AI as an application and an outcome, a beneficial one of the digitalization policies that the country is still working on.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia underscored the importance of the private sector in driving Ghana's digitalization efforts.
One of the things about the digitalization drive that I have led, which I have learned a lot from, is that if properly structured, the private sector will do it. Most of the things that we have done in the digital space has been through the private sector, whether it's the Ghana card, where you have the upfront loading by the private sector, and then they make a fee, whether it's the same thing with the digital address system, the networking of the hospitals, Ghana.gov, all of these things have been spearheaded. So government is not uploading and spending upfront.
Former President John Dramani Mahama expressed optimism about the potential of artificial intelligence.
The convergence of economic diversification and artificial intelligence presents us with a unique opportunity to drive sustainable growth and prosperity for our dear country, Ghana. We will review our digitalization policy in order to expand it to cater for AI. We will speed up the rollout of 5G so that we can take full advantage of what AI has to offer. Prioritize the need of Ghanaian businesses, ensuring that they have the tools and opportunities to thrive and succeed and contribute meaningfully to Ghana's prosperity.
The summit also recognized several chief executives for their outstanding leadership and significant impact across various industries. The Ghana CEO Summit annually brings together over 500 top CEOs, heads of states, entrepreneurs, and business leaders from across West Africa and around the world.
That's it for business. Sports is next. It's time for sports on JN Today. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Now, the Black Starlets will take on Nigeria later today to battle for a third-place finish at the Waffle Zone B Under-17 Championship. The team missed out on a place in the finals, but still has a chance to claim third place and possibly qualify for the Under-17 Cup of Nations. Nana Kweku Ajiman is the interim head coach following the resignation of Lai Kingston, and he says the boys are fired up for the Nigerian test.
We're pretty ready. I mean, after the defeat of Burkina Faso, it was a little rough, but we've been able to psych the boys up and then we've gotten them back in. The boys are ready because they have a lifeline and they know that they have to take that lifeline to be able to qualify for AFCON. It's extremely important. I mean, it's my first national assignment. At first being the assistant to Lai Kingston and now taking the reins for this last game, I think it's very, very important. For me, it really defines my coaching career, and I am going to do everything possible to win this, to put smiles back on the faces of Ghanaians, and also to be able to uplift my own self as a coach. Yes, like I said, I mean, it's a lifeline for them. After the defeat, they were really down because these are boys that have been together for about 7 months, preparing to qualify for the AFCON. And then, unfortunately, we lost to Burkina. So they were really down, but when they heard that there is a lifeline, I mean, they are all geared up, trying to make up for that loss, and also they know that it's a defining moment for them. They want to be able to go to AFCON, not just there, but be able to also qualify for the World Cup. So they are geared up. I mean, I've had a couple of times where some of them have come to my room to tell me that, coach, we are pumped up, we are ready. A few times I've been to some of them, their rooms, to talk to them, to psych them up, and almost every time I go there, now they have smiles, now they are happy because they still know that there is a chance to qualify.
Elsewhere, the president of Ghana Athletics, Bao Fusene, is calling for investment in the establishment of youth resource centers to help develop talented athletes. According to him, talent is widespread across the nation, but those residing outside Accra, Kumasi, and Cape Coast struggle to hone their skills due to inadequate facilities.
I mean, the importance of those youth centers, not only Kofori, they are nationwide, are very, very important. Extremely important that if we are able to have those 10 centers in Ghana, I can tell you that not athletics in Ghana will see an upwards development seriously. Just look at the whole eastern part of Ghana. They have no synthetic structure of training. If the Koforido one is being open to general public, and as now it is closed down, but I do, I'll play with the youth sports, even including the National Sports Authority and the Regional Sports Authority at Koforido, to work with the ministry to let the athletes have access to the place for training. If we have those things in almost all the 10 regions that have been earmarked for those things, In the next 2-3 years, development will see a lot of athletes that emerging from these areas. The whole eastern part of Ghana, they don't have that. If they are able to train there, we should be able to produce more national athletes from that end, from that part of Ghana. And we shouldn't limit that one to Olukoforidia. There's another the stadium which is putting up in Navorongo. The whole upper region, not only upper west, upper east, the upper part of Ghana, they don't have that. Imagine if that thing is completed in Navorongo. You could imagine what it will do to the people from that enclave. What this current governments have started doing, if they're able to complete that. And aside James is also doing some projects around Yendi. I was passing there and they have some schools there, they are doing sports facilities around Yendi. If you're able to complete those infrastructure, we'll have a lot of competition in almost all the regions. We don't need to bring people only to Accra and Kumasi. No. We can go to Navrongo, do national program there. We can go to Enyiname, do national program there. We can go to Adan or some place to do national program there.
Yeah, mention my people. Mention my people.
That's how we end the sports segment on JN Today. My name is Haruna Mubarak.
Good afternoon, you're welcome to the Showbiz segments with me, Jacqueline and Suma Yabua. Now to our first story, tears trickle down as family mourn at the burial grounds of Emmanuel Richard Ampoma, a 3-year-old boy who tragically lost his life to a fatal accident involving Ghanaian actor Kojo Nkansa when Emmanuel was reportedly seated in the passenger seat of the family car containing him and his father, Mr. Ampoma, when the car collided with Lowen's Salon Mercedes-Benz at the Amakom intersection to the Wayek area. The actor, who was reported to be overspeeding, veered off his lane, colliding with a family car containing Emmanuel and his father, Mr. Ampoma. The father has been left in crutches with his left leg not functioning. Bachida Costa, a relative of the 3-year-old family, narrates how the news has devastated the entire family.
It's true the mother fainted and we sent her to the hospital. As for the father, he's still in the hospital. He can't even walk, so we had to carry him to see his son for the last time. It's been really difficult. We've already sent them home and they are not with us in this area.
Well, meanwhile, Victoria, the grandmother of the deceased, is enraged. The family says there are no plans to decide on actions that they need to take against the actor after the burial services.
I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm worried because 2 cars were involved in the accident, but all the discussions have been centered around just one person. Nothing has been mentioned about the person who lost his life. The elders are going to meet and will communicate our decision soon.
Well, may his soul rest in peace. Moving on to other stories. An album so rare and valuable that only a few ears have ever listened to it is set to go on display at an Australian gallery, giving the public a taste of the uber-exclusive tracks housed in an ornate silver box. Once Upon a Time in Shaolin was recorded in secret by the Wu-Tang Clan over 6 years and was designed to be a piece of fine art. Only a single CD copy exists.
Once Upon a Time in Shaolin is as mysterious as its title. Recorded by the legendary hip-hop group Wu-Tang Clan in secret for over 6 years, only one physical copy of the album was ever made, and just a handful of people have heard it in full. Now, a few lucky members of the public will be able to listen to it if they can get to a museum next month on the Australian island of Tasmania. Established in 1992, Wu-Tang Clan stands as a legendary American hip-hop collective, comprising iconic figures like RZA, GZA, Method Man, Raekwon, and Ghostface Killah. They reshaped the landscape of East Coast hip-hop. Renowned for their influence and innovation, Wu-Tang Clan is hailed as one of the greatest hip-hop groups of all time. So, what makes this album unique? Often referred to as the most valuable ever made due to its rarity, the album features contributions from all surviving Wu-Tang members and even includes 2 appearances from songstress Cher. Housed in an ornate silver box, it was intended as a statement about the impact of streaming and piracy on the value of music. A unique legal agreement stipulates that the album cannot be used for any commercial purpose until 2103. That's 88 years after its creation. RZA explained that the number was chosen because there were 8 original Wu-Tang members. The year 2015 adds up to 8, and the rotated 8 is a symbol for infinity. This rare piece of hip-hop history is set to go on display at the Museum of Old and New Art Mona from June 15 to 24. The album will be part of an exhibit lasting a little over a week, with a limited number of free tickets available for curated private listening sessions.
On that note, is a wrap for the showbiz segment with me, Jacqueline and Suma Yabua. Over to you, Faustina.
Hi, Jacqueline. Sad story, your first story. Unfortunately, he passed on. May his soul rest in perfect peace. I'm hoping that the family will find the comfort they need in times like this, because it's quite difficult.
And I think we're all waiting on a police statement to see what the police finds out, because then we've seen a whole lot of reports as to what actually happened during the accident on Saturday. And trust us, we'll bring you those details as soon as we have them. Well, the controversial case in court today about the Attorney General and Atuforsen, Dr. Kasil Atuforsen, is ongoing. We're live in court to give you details about that. We know that the former Attorney General, Mariette Brew, is in court to support Dr. Kasil Atuforsen. We also know that the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbande, is in court. So we'll be in court to give you details about that in subsequent bulletin. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Some top stories there. Ambulance case, sack AG if he doesn't resign. And that is coming from Professor PJ to President Akufo-Addo. My name is Faustina Safo. Have a pleasant day today. It's Aisha's birthday, so we're going to the newsroom to have a big party today. Let's go.